Hello, and welcome to Resilient Business, where you get real talk from small business owners navigating changing times. Today, I am thrilled to have with me Dr. Brian Jones of Jones Chiropractic in Eiida, Ohio. And if you like what you hear on this podcast, please like, comment, and subscribe. And also check out my affiliate links below for some great products and some great discounts. So without further ado, I would like to hand things over to Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones, how are you doing today?
Great. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate the opportunity to come on and just converse and share life with you and your listeners and what's working for us in Northwest Ohio. And it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And so I think the viewers would love to know a little bit more about your business and about how you specifically got involved with the wellness. I think wellness industry, when people are young, when kids are young and they're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't think anyone has ever said, I want to be in the wellness business, or I want to be a wellness provider and things like that. And so maybe just take us through how your journey went leading you into where you are today with your business.
Sure. So first of all, I'm a chiropractor, and that's kind of a natural segue into wellness care, because that's our philosophy as chiropractors is the nervous system controls everything. If we can keep our nervous system healthy, free of interference, our body's going to work at its optimal, and our body was designed with an inherent mechanism of healing itself if given the proper tools, removing interference, things like that can impede the healing process. So it's kind of a natural thing with chiropractic that we're in the wellness care. Although a lot of people in our profession, we do a lot of sometimes disease care where we just fix a problem and then we fail to practice and preach the importance of maintenance and prevention. Wellness is a way of life. You have to actively participate in your health to stay well. Wellness just doesn't happen. It's not passive, it's active. So you have to choose, when you go to the grocery store, you have to choose great foods. You have to choose to drink adequate water and clean water. You have to choose to move and exercise. You have to choose to go to a doctor who will adjust your spine or who will give you nutritional advice or supplements to keep your body working at its optimal. So wellness care is actually a very active lifestyle. It's not something that just happens by chance, but we have to engage it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not necessarily what you get from other approaches to healthcare.
Right.
So, what I see a lot of these days is that the pathways of healthcare and wellness are sort of diverging, and
Right.
you have different types of practitioners, different approaches, different practices, different tools and resources and things, and just different philosophies, if you will. And you touched a little bit about that. So how does your business then talk a little bit about some specific things that your business is using and some approaches that you're taking along those lines, if you would?
Yeah, so things that work alongside our chiropractic care. So we use, of course, we're going to do some ultrasound and muscle stimulation for issues with muscles and spasms and trigger points. We use laser therapy, cold laser therapy. We also do laser desensitization for allergy sufferers. So instead of them going to the allergist and getting a shot once a week for the next 3 years, we actually have a program where we can desensitize a patient in anywhere from 12 to 20 visits of their allergies. It's really cool. There's nothing like it. There's only one system I know that does this, and we're fortunate to be involved with that technology. Of course, we do the pulse centers, PEMF therapy, the pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. We have 3 units that are just typically full every day. We're seeing phenomenal things with that. And I'm sure we'll talk about some testimonies and things, but that's such an exciting technology. It's another piece to the puzzle for wellness care that people need to charge and energize their cells. They need to get those mitochondria functioning at their optimal levels. So tissues have the energy that they need then to heal, repair, recover.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, definitely. So lots of exciting things that you guys are doing. So primarily, are you then focusing on um, the unwell or the well? And what's kind of the split
So,
there, if you
so
would?
basically, it's both. I mean, you're going to always attract people that are sick and in need of answers because they've gone everywhere and they're just not getting any headway. So I love working with patients who are like desperate for answers and desperate for help because I know that they're motivated. Typically, they're motivated to do anything you tell them because they just want to feel better. They want to experience that quality of life that they haven't had in years. And so, desperate patients, a lot of times, are going to be very high compliant patients. They're going to do what you tell them. If you tell them to radically change their diet, they're going to say, Doc, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. And I love those patients because you will always get results with those patients because they're going to put into action the steps that you give them for their road to recovery. Now, once we get people well, now you've got all sorts of people. You've got, I mean, I see people that have, been to the Cleveland Clinic and can't get answers. We bring them in, we find what's going on, we give them the steps that they need, and we see them improve week by week, month by month, and they get complete resolution of what it was they were seeking us out for. And then you have to convert them over though to, now here's what it's going to take to keep you well. Giving those, basically empowering the patient that you need to be an active participant in your health for the rest of your life. Okay, so it's so much easier to maintain health than to regain it once you've lost it. And so it's just, it's like brushing your teeth every day. If you want healthy teeth, you do the steps that it takes to keep your teeth healthy. You go to the dentist, you go to the dental hygienist to get that deeper cleaning and to have that dentist check you out to see if there's anything that might need a little assistance before you're in need of a root canal or you have to have something pulled. So the same thing, you want to have regular checkups with your doctors, or you want regular therapies like the PEMF, things like that, to continue down that wellness path. And then another thing we do too is functional medicine. We do lots of blood work. So a lot of times you're going to find things on blood work that show up before a symptom comes on. And so that's important too, is getting your blood checked on a regular basis. And then we do an in-depth analysis and an in-depth consult with the patient, showing them here's things we need to work on. You're heading down towards a road that could lead to liver issues or anemia that's going to keep you chronically tired. So we explain the blood work, because very few doctors ever explain blood work to a patient. They just usually get a call and say, oh, everything looks okay. And then when I get that patient's blood work, when they bring it in, they're a new patient, here's my blood work I got last month. My doctor said everything looked okay. Then you look at it and it's like, well, you have an elevated liver enzyme, your kidney function's not where it should be, your blood sugar is borderline high, so you're pre-diabetic, and they were told everything looks okay. And that's so frustrating. So, we in the wellness care, we truly are in the wellness care. We want to see patients function at their optimal. And when you have a liver enzyme elevated or your blood sugar is slightly elevated, that's not optimal. And here's the steps that we can take to help you get to that optimal level of health.
Sure. So a couple things I'm hearing is that the patient really needs to take charge of their wellness. It's a lot more difficult to regain wellness than it is to maintain it. And you're there for both of those things, but so you're there to support those people
I always
both
tell
ways.
I always tell my patients, you're the boss. You hire us doctors, and you can fire us. What we're here, I view my role as a coach. I'm here to coach you, to give you my expert advice on how I think you need to get back to wellness, to get you back in the game, playing at your optimal level of performance. But I can't do it for you. I mean, I can't go to the grocery store and buy organic, non-GMO food for you. I'm going to coach you and tell you what you need to eat, but ultimately, it's you who puts the spoon in your mouth. It's you who decides to get up and exercise. It's you who decides, I got to take my supplements today. It's you who's going to decide, I'm not going to miss that appointment. I'm going to go for my PEMF. So I am the coach, because I always hear people, well, my doctor won't listen to me. My doctor doesn't do this. I say, well, fire him. You're the one in control. You are the boss. You hire us to do a service. You can fire us if you're not happy. And so I always empower the patient, let them know this is your role. Ultimately, you're responsible for your own health. I'm here to guide you, coach you, encourage you, and show you the path to get you, back on the playing field, performing at your optimal performance.
Yep, definitely. And it also sounds like this is a very personalized approach because
Absolutely.
you're collaborating basically with the patient, listening, coaching, bouncing things back and forth, monitoring, their progress and things
Right.
like that. You're essentially, you're probably spending more time with each patient, focusing on them, talking with them in whatever
Right.
way that you do that, whatever forum you do that. So it's just sounds like a real personalized way of doing things.
Very much customized.
Yeah.
No two people are alike. No two people have the same problem. Everybody's biochemistry is different. So you can't
Sure.
put a cookie cutter approach out there. I mean, there's obviously certain things you're going to do for everybody, maybe, but you have to be flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, that sounds great. Switching gears a little bit, with everything that we've gone through the past year and a half or so, with the whole virus and everything. Um, how does your business look different today than it did back in maybe mid to late 2019? And overall, what would you say has helped you kind of navigate that period, if you will? Maybe chat about that a little bit.
Yeah. So kind of having, I don't know if you call it a niche, but some of the services I have in place, it was just kind of a natural thing that when COVID hit, I was positioned to really help people that may have had the fear. What do I do? What are some things or steps I can do to avoid and prevent this virus? Or if I do get it, making sure I recover with no serious complications. So since I have that kind of reputation in our community, I mean, last year was my most successful year ever in 25 years of business.
Wow.
Just exploded, and so many people just getting more serious about their health. They were scared. Fear can be a great motivator. I'm not a big proponent of using fear, but sometimes fear is a good motivator for people to realize, hey, I see that the number one comorbidity for COVID complications is obesity. So, doc, what is it I can do to help me lose weight? What is it I can do to shed some pounds? Because if I do get COVID, I don't want to end up, with clots or complications with my lungs down the road. So, fear can be a great motivator. And being that, I was positioned to know how to read blood work and order, I ordered tests. I would order the PCR test or antibody test for certain patients that said, hey, I'm traveling, I have to have these tests. I knew how to take care of all that. Treated lots of COVID patients actually, where I was their sole provider. They would call me up. I did a lot of phone consults. They would call me and say, hey, I tested positive for COVID. I've got a cough. I've got a fever. I ache everywhere. And like one patient, they just, a lot of the things that they were using to treat COVID patients for were investigational. And so in order to be put on those drugs, you have to go to the hospital to receive the monoclonal antibody infusions or the remdesivir, things like that. You had to be in the hospital for those things to be administered. And a lot of my patients were like, I don't want to go to the hospital. I want to stay at home, but I want to also be active and be taking things. So we had a whole supplement protocol that we typically put people on for COVID. So once again, that was another avenue that just increased my business was teleconferencing, consults with patients that had COVID, getting them the things they need. And, it was sad because a lot of doctors weren't seeing patients. They just didn't want people coming in. And I would actually have people come in if they were comfortable coming in. Now, if they were symptomatic, I would have them come at the end of my day. I would have them come in the back door, so they weren't coming through a waiting room where people typically are. Because, those people, they need to have a doctor listen to their lungs, check their pulse ox. There was a couple of people I had to send in. I said, I think you have pneumonia. Your pulse ox is 87. That's way too low. You have to go in. And very appreciative of that, that, all right, a doctor was willing to listen to my lungs, found I had low oxygen levels. Unfortunately, both of those patients turned out fine. But a lot of my patients, they just needed that extra support of their immune system. They got through it fine, but they were just feeling rough for 5 to 7 days. But they wanted that support, that what can I do nutritionally or supplement wise to help me get through this with no complications. Of course, we use the PEMF. I was really excited to have that service available because I had several patients that came to me. They had heard about this service that we offer with the PEMF that had the pneumonia, and after therapy, so once their antibiotics were done and all that, they still felt like they just couldn't get a deep breath. They were winded, and they had been cleared by the doctors, but they just still didn't feel right. So we would do the pulse magnetic therapy over their lungs and just saw tremendous benefit. We had one gentleman, for instance, he had pneumonia at the end of October. He came to me in January. Okay, so 2 months later, he came to me. He's still on oxygen 24/7. And he goes, Doc, I can't work and I want to get back to work so badly. He goes, if I'm wearing my oxygen, my level's at 97%. As soon as I take it off, it'll drop down to 79.
Wow.
The doctors had no more answers. So we pulsed him. We put the pulse magnetic therapy over his lungs. I think we did 10 or 12 sessions. And every 2 or 3 sessions, you could just see himself having more energy and he could do more. His oxygen levels, by the time we were done, if he took his oxygen off, it was down to 94, 93, as opposed to, down in the 80s. His energy levels shot up. He got back to work full time. So that was a really cool testimony. Once again, it's one of those services, the pulse magnetic therapy, we're just providing the environment for that body to heal, repair, and rebuild itself. And with COVID, those lung tissues, if it gets down in there in the lungs, it just can create so much inflammation and then scar tissue. And it's just been a real blessing to have that pulse magnetic therapy on hand for our COVID patients. The other thing is the COVID fatigue. Post-COVID fatigue, some people just are so drained after they've had it, and they just can't get their energy levels back. And we'll just have them come in, we pulse the full body on the bed and do 8, 10, 12 visits, and boom, they're back, feeling their energy levels are restored. And so it's been a great service for our COVID patients.
That's great. Great to hear. And yeah, it's amazing what the body can do on its own when you just provide the right type of energy. And so it sounds like you've hit on a couple of really good applications. But I'm sure that that's something that you see sort of as a broad market, tool to use with basically anyone. I mean, when I talk to people, they're using it, they're using it for everyone, because really, again, going back to the unwell versus well, there's almost always a need for additional energy in the body. And so
Right.
it's great to be able to kind of plug in and charge yourself up with that. But that's a good segue, because I wanted to talk, because I think it's an interesting story about, yes, we met because you're one of my really good Pulse clients, and for a couple of years now. But the way that all started was pretty unique, if not maybe the only time I've ever heard such a thing. So would you mind sharing that a little bit? Because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, so, with doing functional medicine, we draw patients of all sorts. We do a lot of very sick patients. So we deal with cancer patients, Lyme disease. I've worked on HIV patients, just so many different types of patients. So I had a patient who had, by the time he came to me, he was stage 4 prostate cancer that had metastasized very aggressively to his bones. And he was to the point to where he really couldn't get to my office anymore. So I did, I don't know how many house calls. I would go out to his house and work on him with different therapies I have. And this was before I knew about the PEMF therapy through pulse centers, and just got to be really good friends with his family, because I was over there at his house often. And Unfortunately, he did pass away probably 6 to 8 months after he had come to see me. But I noticed one of the thing he had in his room, he had this, this blue bed looking like contraption in his living room that his wife said he loved to use this because it was the only thing that helped his pain. And when you have metastatic bone cancer, it's very, very painful. And he loved using the pulse magnetic bed. I didn't know what it was at the time because that was what gave him relief. And so after he had passed, his wife actually became a patient of mine. She wasn't at the time, but she became a patient of mine. She goes, "Doc, I have something I think I want to give you." And I said, "What's that?" She goes, "Oh, it's one of the things that seemed to really help Jim during his cancer." And she goes, "I'm just going to drop it off sometime." I had no idea what she was really talking about. And about a month later, she comes into my waiting room and she's carrying this huge bag and wheels this like looks like a computerized device in my waiting room. And here, what was a full XL Pro Pulse Centers PEMF machine with all the accessories. And I was seeing patients at the time, and my staff came out and said, "What do we do with all this stuff? You had so-and-so drop it off." And I said, "Well, let's put it back here in this one room." I had no idea what it was. So then I got the book out and started reading up on it. I said, "Oh, okay, this is a pulse magnetic machine." And I've known about them. I've seen them in articles. I've seen them in magazines. The chiropractic journals will see advertisements for them. So that's when I called you, I believe, and you got me involved with some online training. And then I eventually flew down to Atlanta to do the more advanced training and just got to be very knowledgeable on the power of this machine. And so and then when I saw the price of these things, I thought, what this patient did for me was just, one of the greatest gifts in the world I've ever received. And I was just dumbfounded, and she's a patient to this day. Her whole family comes and sees me now. And what a blessing though. And so, 2 units later, we're maxed out. We have no more place for pulse machines. I might have to find a bigger building at some point because I do have 2 more doctors with me now. So we're kind of busting at the seams, but it is one of my go-to therapies for my problematic patients.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
So,
Yeah, what a unique story. And I was just as dumbfounded when you called me that day and told me what had happened. And I think I remember saying, "Okay, listen very carefully. We don't want to waste an opportunity like this because there are a lot of people who really, I guess, really dive into the accepting the risk of a high financial cost, barrier to entry for a lot of people. And since you had been given that opportunity, I wanted to make sure that you were able to maximize it. And so I'm really thankful that you took me up on my advice and you went for the online training and you went for the in-person training. And now, you've progressed to the point where, yes, you've added another machine and then another one, and it's becoming a high performing revenue generator because it is so widely applicable. And had you not sort of been willing to kind of go down that path with us, and maybe just let it sit there, hey, somebody gave it to me, we'll see what happens with it type thing. But you didn't do that. And so I was really grateful for that. And I like the fact that you've been successful with it. It's great.
Yeah, it's been it's just fun to see the results we get. I mean, treating everything from concussions to diverticulitis to your weekend warrior sprains and strains to rotator cuff tears to I'm talking deep ulcerated wounds, pressure sores. And I'm not saying this is what cures them. As we know that the body heals itself. God's given all of our bodies the ability to heal. We just have to sometimes help it along. And that's what the pulsed electromagnetic therapy does. It provides that environment by charging those cells up, by helping the circulation and helping the mitochondria produce more energy and the detoxification that happens with the cells. it provides such a great environment for the body to heal. And I mean, if I don't know, I think I sent you the pictures of the one lady that was in a wheelchair for 30 years, and
Hmm.
she had a deep ulcerated wound on her right ischial tuberosity area, and it was so deep you could see the bone. And she fooled around at the wound clinic for a year and a half, and they finally said it's never going to heal. It'll never close up. We'll just do what we can to keep it from getting infected. You know, and she came to me, and in 6 months' time, we have the before and after pictures, completely closed up, completely healed. And it just shows you, one, the amazing power that our bodies have to heal, and two, how a service like the pulsed electromagnetic therapy can offer patients that have basically given no hope. The doctor said it'll never heal.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just fun to see the results. We've helped two people we've saved a big toe from being amputated, a diabetic patient, and we also saved a whole leg from being amputated. It had a MRSA infection in it, and we used the pulse magnetic therapy in conjunction with, you know, she was getting some IV antibiotics via home care. So I would pack that machine up, the XL Pro, and I did 9 or 10 house calls with that, and we helped an 87-year-old lady save her leg.
My goodness.
I mean, it's just incredible the power of this therapy.
It's
Just,
incredible.
I always get so excited talking about it because I could just go on and on about the testimonies and the success we've had with it. So
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking to the choir, obviously. You know, we talk about this stuff all day, but it's just the thing that amazes me is that and you touched on it, we are not with Pulse, we are not treating these
right.
conditions. These conditions just happen to be the ones that the people who required more energy, either systemically or in a specific spot, were able to manifest the body's own healing, you know. And so that's, you know, you sometimes just, you need to use the name of the condition because you're remembering the patient and you're remembering their situation. But really, it is incredible, but at the same time, it's completely simple. I think that some people call that elegant, when something is sort of complex but simple at the same time. And you know, one of my colleagues says it best, that really all Pulse does is pours energy through the body. The body, with all of its intelligence, prioritizes the use of that energy. And
that's well said.
Priority in each of these people might be 10 different priorities. And each of those might have a name that we know as a condition, but it doesn't in any way mean that this box, you know, treats that condition, you know. So it's a little bit semantical, but I think it's simpler than people can imagine, because I think it's been under the radar for so long. And you know, it's just one of those things. But thank you for sharing that. That's excellent. Really, is there anything before we kind of wrap this up that you'd like otherwise to talk about your business, or anything you'd like to share with anyone that you think might be of value to someone listening to this? And how do people get in touch with you if they might have questions?
Yeah. So I just encourage patients that, you know, if someone's listening and maybe you yourself have a condition, or, you know, a family member or loved one that has something, you know, the biggest thing is, I hope and pray you can find a doctor, first of all, who's knowledgeable and truly cares and has some services in their back pocket that can offer to really help and get to the root of the problems that's creating this sickness or disease or condition. But know that you're in control. Know that ultimately you're responsible for your health. So when you go to a doctor and they coach you on what to do, please do it. I mean, there's a reason they're asking you to do these things, whether it's, hey, we need 12 visits, 15 visits of the pulse magnetic therapy, or we got these supplements, we want to run this blood work. When I order blood work, I always tell people, if you're not testing, you're guessing. You know, so testing sometimes is necessary to find certain things that could be wrong or deficiencies. But I just want to encourage people, there's always hope. There is always hope, no matter what condition you have. And so I just want to leave people with that there's always hope. And the body was designed to heal itself. Sometimes we as doctors, we just have to get out of the way I see so many patients that have just been sadly over medicated, and I'm not going to say poison, but medicine is toxic to a lot of people. I mean, if you just look at side effects of medicines, we know that it can create harm. There's a time and place for it, but so many of my patients that I've seen have been over medicated. And sometimes we have to step back and just say, let's not impede the healing process by throwing foreign chemicals at it, but let's give the body the things it needs, the resources it needs, because it's amazing. Our bodies are so amazing at healing, recovering, rebuilding, repairing, regenerating, but sometimes we have to also get out of the way. But yeah, so if people have questions, I mean, they can contact me. My website is drjoneschropractic.com. And doctor is DR, not the full word. So drjoneschropractic.com. And love to share any of my knowledge, expertise, or answer questions. So
fantastic. Well, we appreciate it, Dr. Jones. Thanks for spending so much time with us today. And yeah, I will link your website below. And
awesome.
so people can get in touch with you. So thanks for offering that.
And thanks for pushing me into, like you said, taking this piece of equipment a little more seriously, because it's been such a great benefit to my practice. No question.
Excellent. Appreciate that feedback. Great. Well, thanks again. And so if anyone wants to look below, check out the affiliate links, some great products, great discounts. If you'd like to follow some more of my work, you can follow me on Instagram at Lahote Joe. And also, if you want information on the Pulse PEMF, you can contact me through any of those channels. So I appreciate everyone viewing this today. And again, I appreciate Dr. Jones, you being here today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.